Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes every time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about how the Eastern Hemisphere is going to save the Western Hemisphere. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancto, secutora principio, et nunc et semper, et secula seculorum. Amen. We have a very early episode, I think I did in 2021, about how there's a chance that maybe the papacy is going to have to be moved to Patagonia, the tip of South America. And why is this? At one point in Christian history, in Catholic Christian history, the Diocese of Baghdad was the largest in the world. This is right, of course, prior to the onset of Mohammedanism in the 7th century. And look, there's barely any Catholics, barely any Christians at all in the Iraq area. So with time, with history, civilizations come and go. And there might be a time, if you look at the Apennine Peninsula where Italy's at, it's got enemies to the south. We have that 2-part series on the historic enemy of Catholicism, which is Islam. And you look at the demographics, you look at the illegal immigration into Europe, you look at the dwindling numbers of Catholics in Europe, it might be a point where the papacy, kind of like the Portuguese threat. I mean, this is real history nerd stuff, but the Portuguese monarchs had to leave Portugal because Napoleon was invading, and they had to sail over to Brazil, which they owned, until the Napoleonic Wars were over. And it might happen. Now, I did an episode in Florence about how Europe is mission territory. And I talked about how, like, the Irish, you look at St. Patrick. So St. Patrick came from England. England was Christianized, was Catholicized. And in the 400s, St. Patrick and then later his monks, they came and evangelized to Ireland and made it Catholic. And then England, through its Anglo-Saxon fighting, think of Ivanhoe if you've ever read that great novel, went kind of into a dark age, and it was the Irish monks who came and re-evangelized Britannia and France and all that area. And I see this when you look at the Southern Hemisphere and when you look at the Eastern Hemisphere. The church is blowing up in Africa. Now, if you look not at like percentage, and same for Asia, but not at like, if you look at percentage of total population. So if you look at percent of total population at India's got 1 billion people. The percentage of Catholics is still not a lot. It's like 10%. 10%, that's 100 million Catholics. That's more than the entire population of Spain. Entire population of Italy, entire population of England. So again, the numbers, you look at Singapore, you look at China, the Chinese communists, of course, are trying to suppress that. Despite their persecution, they're trying to suppress the numbers that Christianity is growing there. South Korea blowing up. The Philippines, we know, has always been a bastion of Catholicism since the Spaniards colonized that in the 1500s. And there's other areas over there. And then you look at Africa, you look at Nigeria, you look at Ivory Coast, you look at all these places, Zaire, former Zaire, Congo, and all these places blowing up. And what are you going to see? I see it in my parish. I have 3 pastors. We have the largest parish in the Archdiocese of San Antonio. So we have 3 pastors. 66% of them are from India. Okay, 66. And the other one is Hispanic, so not white. So again, we're talking about how there's going to be a time, we know, we're in the twilight of white Catholicism as a whole. If you look at Europe, Europe is in mission territory. But what's going to happen, akin to what happened in Ireland, I truly believe that our brothers and sisters in the Eastern and Southern Hemispheres are going to come and they're going to re-evangelize. And they're doing that already. In America, they're doing that all over the world. How many Indian priests, Vietnamese priests, we didn't talk about them, Filipino priests, Nigerian priests, I'm trying to think, Cote d'Ivoire priests, Ghanese priests, all these Rwandan priests. How many do you know? How many do you see? These guys, the seminaries in the Southern and Eastern Hemispheres are blowing up. They're too big. They don't have enough spaciousness. They're too small for the vocations because the vocations are blowing up. And so yes, maybe some of us who are, I'm Hispanic, but I guess the white people, white Catholics might not be that happy that when you go to a church, it's maybe not as white as it used to be. But if you think about the status of the church, I think in America and in Europe, we can have this kind of cataclysmic, apocalyptic doom about maybe what's going on here in the church. But I think in the long run, in the long term, Catholicism continues to grow. And yes, it might not be your color, my color, whatnot, but it's growing. And I truly believe these priests who are on fire from these areas are going to come and re-evangelize Europe and bring Europe and a large extent of North America back to the true Catholicism that we've had since the apostles. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.